Hello friends, welcome to another episode of Killingly Public Library's craft videos. Today we're going to take a bottle. I just happen to have these white plastic bottles that someone has been collecting and giving to me so kindly. They had some sort of a drink in them. I'm not sure what you can come up with, but I'm sure anything similar in shape and size would work lovely. We're going to turn this bottle into a penguin today. So I started by making a template, and it's kind of like a heart almost. You can fold it in half even and on a scrap piece of paper and just draw something out to fit whatever size bottle you're working with. And you want the white part to be at the bottom and come almost up to the top here. This is just the white part of our penguin. The rest we're going to paint black. And so for me, I want to find the spot in the bottle that doesn't have the writing, the print that's stamped into the plastic. I could not figure out a way to get it off with things that I had in my office. So that was my first challenge, to create something that I did not need to have all white. So I didn't want this to be a snowman because I couldn't quite seem to get it off. But by making him a penguin, we're going to paint the majority of him black, and it won't show. So that works well. So I have my template. I'm just going to take a pencil and trace it on here so I kind of know where to paint with the black paint. And maybe you want a different color penguin, that is fine too. I'm not sure if you can see my pencil lines. They are kind of faint a little bit perhaps, but I do have the pencil lines drawn in fairly lightly, but enough so that I can paint around it and still kind of keep the face the way I'd like it. Before we start painting, it's important, if you're using a plastic bottle, to take just a little bit of sandpaper and scuff it up so that the paint will adhere to the plastic. Otherwise, it's just going to peel right off. So I'm going to scrape this and we'll paint in a minute. I have scuffed up all the outside except for inside my template area. I am going to take the sandpaper and just a small patch in the white space where I think I want to place the eyes. And if you want to wait until you're done painting the entire thing black to have a better sense of where you want the eyes, that's fine. And I'm just going to kind of stick something in there now and think that that will be where I want them. Now I know that you can't see my scuffed marks probably on the video, but they are there just enough so the paint will adhere. And before you start to paint, take a wet cloth, or even maybe a dry cloth would work fine, just to get the residue off that might be left behind. It's kind of like sawdust when you cut wood or something like that. There's just little fibery pieces of the plastic that can be there, and so you want that gone before you start painting. But when you're ready to paint, go ahead and pick a paintbrush that you'd like and just start coating on the paint and trying not to go over into your white area. Something like that, okay? And continue on. I'll bring you back when I've finished painting. Okay, this is how my penguin looks painted up. He's still wet. This is the second coat. I let the first coat dry and then I put a second coat on. I thought that I had some spots that weren't great. Maybe you'll do better painting it the first time and it won't need a second coat. Either way, it is your call if you like one coat or two or more. And now I'm going to try to do the eyes, and I'm just going to use the bottom of my paintbrush to dab a little paint on there and see if I can't get a pretty round, nice eye. Otherwise, I know that I would paint it kind of maybe misshapen. So there, I have two eyes on my penguin. I think I might make them a tiny bit bigger. Just swirl my paintbrush around. There, I have two pretty normal looking eyes, I guess. They're kind of about the same size. You could make them bigger or smaller. I didn't want to take the chance of continuing on, and now I have misshapen eyes. Not symmetrical either. So I'm just going to set this aside and let it dry, and I'm going to uh, clean off the paintbrush tip because I don't want to get black paint all over my hand. And I'm just gonna put the paintbrush there and set this aside while we continue on with some other steps. So the next thing I'd like to work on is the hat. And we just want to take the paper towel tube. You could use a toilet paper tube, whatever. They're the same size. It doesn't matter. They're just different in length. We just need about a 1/2 inch strip of the tube. So just take your scissors and cut across. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So you can see it's not too large. Just a tiny bit. So, you know, it's about a 1/2 inch or so. And then you're going to take some yarn strips. You're going to need at least 40 pieces of yarn, maybe more, depending on the thickness of the yarn you're using. Mine isn't terribly thick, so I may need more than 40 pieces, but you won't know till you're really working it, and also how well you're kind of able to squish it together. But we're going to make a hat for our penguin because the bottle, it doesn't look so great just like that, does it? We got to put something on the top of his head, give him a hat. Now maybe you're very creative and you could knit or crochet a hat. I'm going to show you something you could do that looks pretty nice, and you don't have to have any special talents for it. So we're going to take this piece of cardboard circle and we're going to take a strip of yarn. My yarn happens to be 10 inches long. If you wanted a bigger hat, you could go with 12 inches. I wouldn't go with anything smaller. You would probably be hard pressed to have enough yarn to do what needs to be done if you went smaller than 10 inches. We're just going to take the piece of yarn. It's kind of folded over in half, right? So that we have like a loop here on this side. We're just going to put this loop through our tube, okay? So it's inside my tube now, if you can see. It's kind of going through there. And I'm going to take these two ends and put them back through the loop, okay? So this is what you're seeing here. And just pulling, all right? And I know that doesn't look great like that, but you're just going to smush them back together and give another tug, okay? And then you will have something like this. Do you see? And now once you've got that, you're going to continue making more. So you can take another piece of yarn and put the loop into the middle of your circle, your middle of your tube, and then put your tails through the loop and pull. And push it up next to the other one. Snug them tight if you need to. You can see how that's coming along. So I have one that I have already done just to make things go a little smoother. I believe I put 47 strands on this tube. That doesn't mean you'll need 47 strands. I had made an earlier one where I only used 40 strands. It was just a little bit thicker of yarn. I also felt like I could have used more, that my hat had some gaps to it. So you'll just have to play around and see what will work for you. But after you are done cinching all of your pieces of yarn onto the tube, you're going to now take this yarn and push it through, back up through the tube like so. So all of these pieces that were here are now going to be coming in the opposite way. So, and they're not going to be hanging down, they're going to be pushed up. And just get them all up there. Okay, so I've pulled all of the strands of yarn up through the cardboard circle, and now I'm going to tie it off to make a little ski cap. So you can take another piece of your 10-inch yarn, that should be plenty, and just decide how high or low you want to tie it off, and then you'll trim the excess pieces to make like the pom-pom on the hat. And I'm just tying this into a knot. You could put a bow if if that's something you would like. I'm just knotting it and trimming it close to the knot. Okay, so there's my hat. And now we're going to just trim up this yarn to kind of make it have, like I said, the pom-pom kind of look. There, I've trimmed up my pom-pom a little. It's good enough. You can fluff it a little. You could even comb it if you wanted to, but just kind of, I probably could even trim it a little more. I grabbed the wrong scissors, and these scissors are not my favorite for finer work, but good enough. So I'm just going to set that aside. The next step, after we completed our hat, we're going to take and cut some yarn. I have here 9 pieces of yarn. They are all 18 inches in length, or they should be anyway. And you're going to take all of the ends together and tie just a small knot. So I'm going to start with them all in the same spot here, and I'm just going to loop around my fingers, and once I have the loop, I'm going to push the ends through and grab them and push the knot as far to the end of the yarn as I can, keeping it secure, like so. Now I'm going to lay this down on the table, and I'm going to divide it into strands of 3. And I am going to braid it and give my penguin a scarf. Now again, you could sew a scarf, you could crochet a scarf, you could knit a scarf, but I wanted to do something that anybody could do if they did not know how to do any of those handcrafts. And most people know how to braid. And if you're not familiar with braiding, it's pretty simple. You have the strands divided up, and you could even do it with single strands, but I wanted a thicker scarf, so that's why I have 3 strands together. If your yarn is really thick, maybe you just need 1 single strand of each, so you would only need 3. But we're going to bring this far one to the right over the one in the middle. Then now this one that we just pulled over becomes the middle, and then we will bring the one to the left over the right, making that now the middle. And you'll continue on in that fashion, bringing the right one over to the middle, and then the left one comes and becomes the middle, and back to the right over to the middle, and then the left over to the middle, and you can see it is starting to braid. Okay, I will come back when I'm finished and we'll knot the end and we'll have our scarf. All right, when you come to the end of where you think is good for you for tying, just go ahead and tie similarly to what you did before. So just grab a hold of your ends and pull and snug it up just like you did on the other end. There, so that is my knot. You have a little bit of fringe now for your scarf. You want to make them kind of even. And so just take your scissors and make them fairly similar. Here, so I have a little scarf now for my penguin. So let's see if the penguin is dry and we can continue on. Yeah, he's probably good enough. So what I need to do now is cover him with some Mod Podge to seal him. If you don't have Mod Podge, you could use glue, like a liquid, white liquid school glue, and mix it 1-to-1 with water, and then just paint over the black surface areas. I'm just going to put a little bit over the eye, and that'll dry clear. That'll be fine. So I'm just going to spread that on, and then when it's dry, I'll come back and we'll assemble them together. So he's not totally dry, but I'm going to go ahead and finish up with him, and he'll just keep drying on his own. So I'm going to take some scrap felt. I have kind of an orangey color here, and I just want a little triangle to make his beak, the penguin's beak. Okay, I've fiddled with the scissors and I'm happy. It's just a little tiny triangle, and you could choose to use a glue gun to adhere this. I'm just going to use a glue stick right now. I didn't see any reason to set up the glue gun for just this one spot on the penguin. So we're gonna just stick it on. It'll be good enough for the video at least, and maybe it'll be good enough for the duration. I don't know, we'll find out. But there, I've got his beak on. He kind of coming together, isn't he? And then we'll put his hat on his head. So there's his hat on his head, and now you just want to take the scarf and tie it around. You don't have a huge amount of scarf here. It's just enough to kind of fold the little ends over, but it gives him a little bit of a scarf, and isn't he kind of cute? If you wanted a longer scarf, you certainly could use a longer piece of yarn. Instead of 18 inches, maybe you want to try 2 feet. I went with the 18 inches because I thought that would be a nice spot, a nice size. I didn't want the scarf hanging all the way down to his feet. But you know, you have to make it your own, and you can take and run with the idea and see what you can create. I don't think he looks too bad though, considering a lot of what was here was something that was just heading to the recycling bin. So thank you so much for stopping in today, and please share your craft with me when you completed it. I would love to see them. You can send them to info@killinglypl.org. And until our next craft video, have a great day.